Electrocast.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Welcome to the next edition of Missing the Point. I am back in the building. We've been dropping heat for you all week. And guess what? We're back to bring you some more. I'm Hollywood Ray with my guy, the man, the myth, the legend, DK Sizzle. And we're here to talk NBA, of course. Like, why wouldn't we be, right? And, you know, it's one of the best times of the year. Obviously, college football's going crazy. You know, NFL is going crazy. But like I said, we're big fans of the NBA. Real quick, before we get into the NBA, just want to say that we're happy to be a part of now the Winner's Edge podcast network. We just recently signed on with them. So shout out to Electrocast Media for getting that done. And once again, I look forward to the relationship, and there's going to be some great things to come. So, DK, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to whatever production value Winner's Edge brings to the pod now. I don't know if they're going to like do the jail doors slamming shut like at the start of all the Akon songs, or like what they're really going to drop. But maybe we're just in safe hands now. I'm happy we're with those guys. It's been a long time coming. So we had some options to sign up to different podcast networks, and we're going with Winner's Edge because proven commodity, and we're excited to grow with them, and we're glad it worked out like that, I feel like. But I'm really excited to get down to the business of getting in business and talking about the National Basketball Association, because we really haven't checked in on the league as a whole. As much as we've sort of focused on the Celtics for good reason, we've been amped, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the league is shaping up interestingly. I think there's a lot to talk about. So yeah, I'm pumped to get into it.
Yeah, and I think, obviously there's, different players showing out, different teams showing out, and like I said, we'll get into it by conference, really. So I want to start with the Eastern Conference. I think, obviously, everyone that listens to us knows that we are fans of an Eastern Conference team, obviously with the Boston Celtics, but there is other greatness happening outside of 100 Causeway Street, whether we see it on a nightly basis or not. So one of the teams that comes to mind right away is a team that actually beat us twice. It makes me sick, but at the same time, they have been, they have played very well to start the season, and that's the Cleveland Cavaliers. So just what do you think has been like a catapult or a catalyst for, their early season, just onslaught, really?
I think it's not a surprise. Like, I think we talked briefly when we were kind of talking about in context of the Celtics and how they're going to do this season, and like who we're going to come up against and who was going to offer us challenges. And we definitely name dropped the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple of times because I feel like the big thing that obviously they did is they reaped the rewards of the terrible front office work of the Brooklyn Nets, and like especially egregious to improve an Eastern Conference rival. And it's even more egregious to improve fucking Cleveland, because I really thought I was going to watch them be shitty sans LeBron for the next decade. But the problem that we have now with them is that they're young, they're hungry. They have a little bit of a chip in on their shoulder because of the brush they've been painting with being the Cleveland Browns. And I think obviously you have Jared Allen and you have like that great young core, and I'm a big Jared Allen fan, but
right.
It's not any more complicated than Donovan Mitchell and like the kind of the play that he's bringing to the season. I think he's the kind of player where you remember Derrick Rose, like players like this, where you love them, but you can't fall completely in love with them because you're worried about their health.
Right.
But now that he plays for the Cavs, it's a little harder. But even when he was just absolutely serving sauce on the Celtics this season, there was moments of like, that dude's a fucking hooper, right? I think that he's got a really cool team around him. If it wasn't the Cavs, I'd be like way more high on them because like there's a lot of players that I really like to watch play. But also matchup wise, I just think that they're coached well. I think that the way that they beat us, I wouldn't be terribly worried about a playoff matchup with them. I don't know if they have the kind of experience and grit that we have going into the playoffs. I think that they should be more worried about us, even though they've taken both regular season contests in overtime, mind you. this season. But I do think that there's if they can keep this core together, there's someone to watch out for in 2 years. But as far as to answer your question, like why are they good? It's because they have a bunch of good players, and they're put in positions to win. And I think they had an immediate culture when they put those guys together. Like they just seem to have each other's backs. They seem to play well together and complement each other really well. I think we're also though at the time of the season where I'm not saying they're not good, but I think that it will sort of start to even itself out a little bit more. And I'm not sure if we're going to get to this, like the Utah Jazz, for instance. Obviously, they start off super high. Once we talk about the Western Conference, but obviously they start off super high, and like you've been quoted as saying it yourself. This is the time of year where it's kind of put up or shut up, and like the teams that have that hot start sort of start to fade away. I also think the way that basketball players condition their bodies now. The start of the season, the first segment of the season used to be kind of an extended preseason because you have such a long, like so many games in the NBA. If you remember when we were kids, like Shaq was coming in fat like every single year, right? And he was just playing his way into shape. And I just don't think that's the case anymore. So I think the offensive efficiency is up across the board when teams come in. But what you start to see is the sort of the fat start to fall away in regards to how they line up and how they play. I don't think they're going to drop off. I think that they will make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to drop off that drastically, but I think they're fun. I just don't think they're like as good maybe as their record shows. And I think the big badge that they have right now is that they beat us twice. And I thought those were kind of weird games, but you can't really take away from Donovan Mitchell in those games. Like he absolutely fucking came at us. So I'd like to see them again. I'd like to see more of them. I'd like to see what they're made of, and I'd like to see more of their DNA. And I'm interested in having them as an Eastern Conference rival because I think the Heat have dropped off. Even we kind of had our eye on them always because they always give us problems, but they've dropped off pretty hard. Injuries notwithstanding, but they've dropped off pretty hard. And you got to see like who's going to give you tests coming to the playoffs at this point. I think if we do see them, say if we're 1-8 going into that's possible. So going into the playoffs, we could see them in the first round. So I wouldn't be too upset about that if that happened.
Yeah. No, I think obviously they were a playing team last year too. Yeah. So they kind of caught fire at the end. That thing they took that game last year seriously against Brooklyn. They could have beat them because they were in it the whole game. And
I'm not sure they were convinced that they were like
they didn't think they belonged there. But I'm
but now they do. I think
exactly. Yeah. And ironically, you kind of touched on it, but I'll drive the point home. Ironically, because they have this team's former best player, they kind of are the Utah Jazz of the East,
right?
Mobley is a better version of Walker Kessler. Obviously Jared Allen's better than Jared Vanderbilt. So
I love Jared Allen, honestly. I can't get enough of that guy.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
I really can't.
He's great, and I enjoy his effort night in night out. Obviously, Kevin Love has reveled in the role of being a sixth man. I think that I'm not sure if 4 or 5 years ago he would have thought that. Obviously, when they were still making the finals and just doing things, but he's really done well in that role. And yeah, I mean, and let's be real, we didn't mention this guy's name yet, but the emergence of Darius Garland has been huge for that team. And obviously, they picked Colin Sexton, they picked Darius Garland, back to back, and people were wondering, okay, well, they both were top 10 picks. Like, who's going to be the guy? Are they going to be the backcourt?
I probably would have said Sexton, honestly, based on his college career.
Yeah, no, in fact, same. Yeah, even when I saw in high school him when I saw him,
he was fast as fuck. Like he had all the things.
Right, exactly. So I think those that and for those that are Cleveland fans can appreciate this reference I'm about to make. I think in some people's mind it was like, okay, well, we have a new day, Mark Price and Craig Elo.
Yeah,
and,
that's a good. That's a good reference.
So I think that's what they or even Terrell Brandon, Trey Atlanta. So whatever area you want to go with for those that watch Cleveland basketball, we can take you there. We're Boston fans. We think we want to go.
You got to know your enemy.
So
you got to know your enemy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that the coachship is there, like you mentioned, and I believe JB Bickerstaff is their coach. Like he is someone that has gotten a raw deal at other places that he's been, and I think now that Kobe Allman and the rest of the ownership there in Cleveland is putting him in position not only to be successful this season, but successful in the future. So once again, congrats to them on a hot start. I do think, like I said, the regression to the means will happen. It's already happened.
Yeah.
I think they're 13 and 14 8 right now, something like that. So we're still a great record. Don't get me wrong. Like that's still over 600.
Well, I think it's one of those situations where like, yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where like anyone that was paying attention knew that they were going to be decent. But I also think that I'd be pretty surprised if they were up for a deep playoff run this year. But then you never know. Like there's players there that could catch fire early on in the playoffs if they skip a play-in week, or even if they have to do the play-in. Like,
right.
I feel like there's players there that could catch fire and go through. Like I said, I wouldn't be terrified to see them in the playoffs, despite, people overreact to regular season victories and stuff. And I think that we've talked a lot about the Celtics and them taking the defensive side of the ball off a little bit this year. So, and you just don't do that in the playoffs. So I'm not super worried about it, but I think they'd be interesting to see, like, if somehow we got like a 4 and a 5 Chicago and Cleveland series, like I'd be super interested to watch that series. So, I mean, maybe that'd be a reach for Chicago, but
I think Cleveland would beat them in 6 games.
You think?
Yeah, because the only reason I say that is because outside of DeRozan that's been there multiple times. Yeah, Vucevic has been in the playoffs, but Orlando wasn't getting out the first round when they were making the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But
so
DeRozan, I feel like people like don't really give DeRozan enough credit.
No, he's a monster. I just say, like, they have no answer for him.
He's kind of forgotten. He's kind of forgotten about, though. You know what I mean? Like, because
because LeBron.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just feel like
people go home 3 times in a row.
Right. No,
I
mean, and he's going to do that to you. He's going to do that to you. And good, but just as a quick aside, good for LeBron today. Did you see his like press conference or scrum or whatever, where he was like, "How come no one asked me about Jerry Jones?" And standing outside of.
Yeah, it's about having the same energy, and I think that's where. And shout out to Taylor Rooks too for highlighting that message. Like, it's not about pinning 2 guys against each other and saying, "Hey, if you're going to ask me about one thing, which is fine, because that's your job as the media, just make sure you ask about both." That is the gist of the message. Not what was said, not who it came from. It's literally just asking, can we keep the same energy? That's all he was saying. So, but like you said, yeah. But back to that. Do
you think it's like a statute of limitations thing, like in people's minds, or is it? Because it's like, all right, Kyrie Irving says this shit. It's like it's breaking news, right? But when people see like a fucking photo of Jerry Jones like a million years ago, like to me, I would say that's like just as egregious, if not. Like, worse.
I mean,
but like because it was so long ago, people like because it did get swept under the rug a little bit, and it's like it's just weird how it doesn't jump to front page news when. Yeah. That to me is fucking scandalous, right?
Well, so. I will say this and this is not original content for me, but it's just something I saw on social media, and I'm like,
I don't think there is such a thing as original content anymore.
No, I mean, to some extent,
for here at Missing the Point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch anything before we did this. Like, I really just don't know. Yeah, so I'm not. I don't like say I'm not looking to get influenced by anything else, but no, I just think that. It said on there, Emmett Till's death was also 65 years ago.
Right.
About that too. Like, so I'm saying, like, just don't pick and choose. If you want to be mad about one thing, be mad about it all. But needless to say, so we get back to, even though it is NBA related, but I want to get back to talk about some teams I want to stay in that division. So the Indiana Pacers.
Young.
Yeah, young core, our a guy that was on this team that didn't flourish. Well, Aaron Nesmith has played phenomenal.
Yeah, but you knew, like, I feel like it's like like you always say, like he's gonna get his bag in Orlando, right? Like when you're in Boston and the 3 guys ahead of you are like all gonna play minutes in the playoffs, it's not really fair to ask that he like comes out and actually performs like how we would have needed him to at small forward or guard or what shooting guard or whatever. It's like. In that swingman role, like where like the way that we were equipped, like it just doesn't make any sense. I was a little weirded out by his shooting because I thought he was supposed to be this like just like spot up 3-point jump shooter when he came in, and like that's definitely not him at all. But yeah, I think it's really like to go somewhere like Indiana and flourish. I'm really happy for him. It's not a situation where I'm like, oh, why did we get rid of him? Because it's like there was no world in which he succeeds here. There was just too much talent ahead of him and. Not any real ability to like get him in and be productive. But I love Miles Turner down there. Like I'm constantly like trying to figure out a way that we can make it like still make that trade come back. But now you look at the Pacers and you're like, why would you though? Like it doesn't make a ton of sense. Like there's high ceiling guys across the floor. Like there's an argument for most improved player with Halliburton already. And like I just think, they're fun to watch. They're young. And I think again, like another Eastern Conference team that you kind of have to keep your eye on, like a lot of young, hungry fish around the Eastern Conference right now that all could could come good or I don't know, get broken up. But you remember when we were like all super high on the Minnesota Timberwolves with like Tony Allen? Sorry, the Memphis Grizzlies with Tony Allen, and it was like, oh yeah, they're so defensive. Like, give it 1 or 2 more years. But it just takes a couple of weird or bad front office decisions with a young team like that to really fuck it up. And the problem is, like, a lot of these guys, they hit year 3, year 4, they're like, I want a big contract. So then that creates parity a little bit in the league. But I don't know, with a small market team like Indiana, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much they're. I wouldn't say small market. I mean, I know that their fans are diehard fans, and I know that they love basketball in Indiana. I'm just talking about population. Yeah. But I just think like, and desire to sort of go there. I think if they're going to do anything, like they're going to have to do some stuff with rookie contracts still hanging in the balance, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And
they just talked myself into them and then talked myself out of them in like one spiel.
Trust me, I'm pretty sure there's other places, other spaces that have done the same thing, but what cannot be denied is the talent they have.
They're fun. They're super fun.
Yeah, but definitely fun to watch. Listen, Ben Mathurin, who's coming off the bench and who was a 6th pick in this year's draft, he's a problem, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he's good.
He caught a lot of fire early on because he was like, oh, look, I believe there's someone better than me. Like, if LeBron plays me, he's gonna have to show me. And he outplayed LeBron the other night when Indiana came to LA, and LA was up 17 in the 4th. And Indiana came back and won. So not only do you get the win in LA, you also outscored LeBron James. So I know that probably took his confidence to another level above where it's already at. But I think about him. I think about Halliburton. Who I remember early in the show, when in the inception of the show, I said in that 2020 draft, I said, if you can find a way to get Tyrese Halliburton, you do so. I said he's a 6'5" guard. I said the shot's kind of quirky. I said, but you can fix that. And look what has happened.
Yeah,
the shot is falling.
You can actually fix shots now. It's the craziest thing. I feel like I'm from a bygone era. The shot doctor is a real thing, and I'm from a bygone era where if you had a shot like Lonzo Ball's coming into the NBA from when I was like 17, like I'm just writing you off immediately. It's like the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And like, look at Lonzo now. Like his shot is fixed.
Did you write up Kevin Martin back in the day?
No, well, I didn't think that
Kevin Martin had a wild shot, and
I didn't think that shooting was. I didn't think shooting was his only asset that he brought into the league. You know,
gotcha.
I think if guys come in and they're like good in the paint and they have good footwork and like it's like, well, we can make a basketball player out of you. I just think that there's a lot of pure shooters that came in when we were younger that you're like, yeah, that's gonna work in college. You know, like that's gonna work in college, but your release is taking too fucking long. Like you're gonna get swatted every single second, but you can actually see players improving their shot now, which is dope. And like, sorry, not to go off on a tangent on that. Let's go back to the Pacers. Jalen Smith, you forgot about. He's good.
Oh yeah.
You remember him from his Maryland days? He was a fucking problem. He's like a little bit of a stretch for scorer type, which I always love. Like I remember the Celtics having like a lot of those littered around the place and just not really knowing what to do with them. But I think that they're long, they're athletic. As a team, and like you said, like I said earlier, like Halliburton could get the Most Improved Player award this year if he keeps. He wouldn't be my pick, which I'm sure I will bury the lead there. We'll talk about that later, but it's on the agenda. But yeah, I mean, I think they're fun to watch, man. I think again, same deal with what they look like across, like in terms of us and in terms of like the rest of the Eastern Conference, where it's like I'm not 100% sold yet, but. For a regular season, like I think they have all the tools. Where would you see them coming in this year?
So I think maybe at best be like an 8th and 9th seed and be playing like
you're still higher
at the ceiling.
You're higher on Cleveland though, right? You're higher on Cleveland.
Definitely higher on Cleveland. Mainly because they're done like I feel like if Donovan Mitchell went to Indiana, like they might be in the same position that Cleveland's in. Like I think that him and Miles Turner would have been a very good duo. Obviously, with Buddy Hield can shoot the ball.
They're side to side with each other in the standings. So someone's got to slide. So you think the Pacers?
Yeah, it'll be Indiana. Like they don't have a bunch of guys that are proven. Like once again, Turner's been to the playoffs. I don't like that. Buddy Hield has not been to the playoffs in his career so far.
They might get that like we're so young we don't understand like the gravity of the situation type deal. Like.
Yeah, for sure.
Jayson and Jalen, like, oh shit, all of a sudden it's Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Like we're here.
I'm not saying they're them. I'm not saying it's that, but you never know with a young team.
So and I'll say this on the spot because, you'll appreciate this very much because we saw this as fans. Maybe they become the 2008 Hawks. And
I love the 2008 Hawks.
Yeah, folks,
that's one of my favorite teams ever. That's funny you bring that up.
So if folks remember, if folks remember what the 2008 Hawks were, they were a team that were 37-45. So they weren't someone that was going to be a juggernaut, but they had Joe Johnson, they had a rookie Al Horford, they had a veteran Mike Bibby on that team. This is a name drop for some of y'all that were college basketball fans. AC Law out of Texas A&M was on that team as well. So from Stoudemire. So they had guys that were young and upcoming, and
don't forget about Josh Smith. Josh Smith.
Oh, Josh Smith. Yeah, Jason Smith. Yes. My bad. Yes, you're right. Jason was my guy. You're right. I'm so sorry to those that listen to Georgia. My bad.
They had Zaza at center.
Yeah, Zaza, all that. So they had a lot of guys on there that can play, were athletic, and once again, that was always a team that Boston and a lot of teams that were older always struggled with. So they could play themselves into that because, once again, they're not as athletic as that Hawks team was, but I could definitely see them. They got good coaching with Rick Carlisle, obviously, so they definitely could be a playing team that maybe still is a game for somebody because they play hard. So, yeah, like I said, they have something good going there, and I think that, better days are definitely coming for Indiana. Once again, it's the basketball states, the basketball town. Like, they love basketball there. Like, it is to them, basketball is everything.
Absolutely. Hoosiers. Fucking Hoosiers, man. If you haven't seen Hoosiers, go watch Hoosiers.
I just think that, shout out to Gene Hackman, but, and I just think that is awesome.
You think he has the greatest record of sports movies just off the top of your head? Like, he was in that and The Replacements.
Yeah, that's it's
pretty good.
Let's do that deep dive. And it's funny, that's not even like, that was a great movie, but I just feel like I love him in Enemy of the State with him and Will Smith. That's like,
I love that movie too. I watched that not too long ago.
Quick aside, that I see that on social media. Will Smith just came out with a movie, but I think it's called
probably not as good as Enemy of the State.
Oh no, for sure.
It's fucking awesome.
Enemy of the State is my favorite Will Smith movie. I know.
Yeah, because
I'm like, no, it was so different for him.
Yeah.
At that time, it was used
thriller.
Prince, and he did Independence Day, and he did Six Degrees of Separation. Like, just a quick aside, Enemy of the State to me was his best work. I just thought he was phenomenal. And he had my girl Lisa Bonet in there. Right. It was.
Gene Hackman's not he's not like a super genius in it. He's like a kook. He's kind of a kook. He's like a tinfoil hat guy, and but he turns out to be right about like the NSA, and like it keeps like just cutting to like guys in trucks being like, I've geolocated his location, and it's just like, it's good old fashioned fun.
Yeah,
I love every second of it.
It's great. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna fire that baby up after this.
Right. Speaking of a couple of cooks, watch how I bring it back. Let's go to Brooklyn.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they got a couple of cooks over there too. Definitely quirky to say the least, especially on the basketball floor and what they do off the floor as well. But they've played a little bit better lately. I think they're KD has been on fire as of late, which is expected. Even Ben Simmons has turned in and have a couple of good performances. Even Kyrie to an extent as well. So just looking at what they've done recently since Kyrie's coming back against Portland, I think last week if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, once again, KD seems to be locked in. I know they're getting TJ Warren back as well. Royce O'Neal's been there. They haven't played Patty Mills as much, obviously, so he's maybe he's fell out of favor, under Jock Vaughn.
With Kevin Durant, you mean?
Right, no. Well, no, I mean, he was screaming about Patty Mills from the last year, so I don't know. Once again, Patty Mills is a proven player in the playoffs. Like, the dude is lethal. And once again, I don't know if he's like that he's that much worse than Seth Curry, that he can't get on the floor unless they want Cam Thomas to get better. But what are your thoughts about them, and just like once again on the court, and just what do you see them figuring out at least to be a top 5 seed?
No,
in the East.
No, it's kind of a bummer. I mean, as a basketball purist, it's kind of a bummer. As a Celtics fan, it's not. But I think, like you say, the Patty Mills thing, it's like, there's no way to figure out if it's a basketball decision or if it's an ego decision or if it's a dysfunction decision or, there's no way to figure out why the Nets are doing what they're doing. Like, if you have a team like the Bucks or a team like the Celtics, like play teams that in this Eastern Conference, especially, like make a decision about a player, you can sort of at this point be like, well, they probably know more than we do. Like, they've been watching them. The analytics are there. Like, it's all right. We want to see him, but maybe there's like some defensive stuff. Peyton Pritchard. Right. So like, it's you don't see him as much. Patty Mills not seeing the floor. Like, you can reasonably look at the Brooklyn Nets and be like, I don't know why that is. Like, maybe Kevin Durant just doesn't like him anymore. That could be possible. Maybe there's just like weird behind the scenes dysfunction going on. But I mean, fuck all that. Like, honestly, like the soap opera conversation about the Brooklyn Nets is so fucking boring at this point. Like, it's a team we're constantly talking about for all the wrong reasons. And I don't mean to sit in judgment of them, to be quite honest with you, because as much as like, obviously we've talked ad nauseum about Kyrie Irving and like the shit that comes out of from his brain to his mouth, but like, I'm still going to be a KD apologist. Like, at the end of the day, I understand that he is, I understand that like the way that he went about moving himself around is not ideal and like for his career and his legacy. Like, it's going to be damaging and it makes him harder to stick up for. But at the end of the day, he's a guy that we saw that was generational, and we're all very lucky to have watched him play basketball. It was a very unique experience for me to watch him. When he went to the Warriors and they just like absolutely clowned on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and like he took LeBron on one-on-one a bunch and succeeded. And to me, all the criticisms leveled at KD had just gotten so stale and boring, where it's like, oh, he needs to do this to win. Oh, he shouldn't have left. Like, him and Russ were almost there with the Warriors. It's like, we've had these conversations 8 million times. You and I have talked about it so much that like I've almost come around to your way of thinking on it at the wrong time because of how he's seen now in Brooklyn. But it's even still, as much as he got himself in this situation, I look at him and I'm like, well, that's an awfully high workload for a legacy player. A legend of the game at this point, and a guy who's like come off some pretty serious injuries, who I'd love to see compete in the playoffs again. And he has this pretty high workload for the shitty Brooklyn Nets in a season where we all know they're not going to do anything. And I'm just like wincing watching his legs deteriorate and, and feeling the ever ebbing passing of time in my own life. So I don't know, man. I mean, I know that most people would clown on me and come at me for this take, because at this point, like, to still defend Kevin Durant is silly, because he's made so many stupid choices and he's, I wish his career had gone a different way as far as like, decisions that he made and places that he went, but I don't know, man. He's just so fucking good at basketball. Like, it's just like, I can't, like, I love watching the guy play. I really do. And it makes me sad that the Brooklyn Nets are shitty, because like I said, when they got put together, I was like, this is super exciting. They're going to look so good. And I didn't think we were really there yet. So I was like, cool, like, whatever. Let's fucking watch Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving play together. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
And it went so badly. Just went so bad.
And I'm sure that they had the same thought process as well. Obviously, when they get James Harden and they added some other pieces, they just felt
on paper, it seems like a lot of fun.
Right. Exactly. But I just think this is where I say, the only time that the NBA was over before it started was the time that KD shot with Golden State. We knew if they were healthy, there was no other team that was even going to have a shot on the court, regardless of who was out there. And so to me, that's why I didn't, when it happened, I was like, okay, yeah, they got Harden, they got Kyrie, but I'm like, yo, mentally, is this going to work? Once again, basketball wise, it should. When you got guys that could get 30 a night, all three of them could get 30 a night, maybe actually.
And that's what we said. That's what you and I said.
All three could get 50 in a game if they really wanted to. It just didn't make sense basketball wise. And obviously, Harden and KD had a prior relationship, obviously playing in OKC. And yes, there's a part of me that has always held out that it should have ended with Russ, Harden, and KD. I still think, I think about it like the basketball degeneration acts. Like, we didn't see it for long enough in their prime. Like, we should have seen more of it. And I just wish that there was a way to get that back together outside of an All-Star game. Like I said, we'll never see that basketball faction ever again.
You remember the like kind of revisionist history of that too? Like when the trades happened, like when Harden left, for instance, initially and went to Houston, it was like, oh wow,
I thought Russ should have got moved at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a huge Russ fan, as you know. No. Just like his game for me has always been a little bit like, how do you win with this? But I think when Harden got moved, it was kind of like, I feel like a lot of people were like, oh shit, James Harden got really good now that he has like more usage and like more, now he's on the ball more. And it's like, I remember being like, nah, he was still sick though. Like it was still right there.
Exactly.
Like it wasn't like when they traded. It was like people were saying like they didn't know what they had and they traded it away. It's like no, they knew what they had. I think because I think I knew what they had and you knew what you had. And they traded it away.
Sam Presti moved him.
Yeah, which is just crazy.
They gave him 4 years, 52. He wanted 5 years, 65.
Yeah,
and they traded him for $13 million.
It's so upsetting.
That's unreal to me. They got 13 first round picks, but it's just like
sure,
I don't. It's unbelievable. It's wild.
It's just crazy because it's like then you just think like in that Warrior series where they were so close. If he's there, I just I don't know. I mean, maybe it all would have played out even worse, but to break that core up, it's like we were talking about the Pacers earlier. It's like this is what happens now. Like guys don't want to like they ask for a little bit too much, or they want to get moved, or they want their own team, or like whatever it is. You don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes, but like I just feel like we were robbed of that. Like you said, like I just feel like it sucks. Like I would have wanted to see it. And then we got to see it kind of later, and it was gross, and everyone was old, and it just wasn't working. It was a bummer.
Right. Exactly. I do think there's another team I want to speak about before we get to the cream of the crop of the East. We all know who those teams are, so just listen for that big market tease there. But I want to go down to I-75, go down to Orlando. I'd be remiss if we didn't speak about Paolo Banchero. This man has been unreal since he's got into the league.
It's a bucket, dude.
Yeah. That's literally bucket Banchero. That's literally you heard it here first.
Yeah,
like bucket Banchero. That dude is unreal. And once again, that's another young core. And once again, I will give you. It was on a different platform, but I would give you your flowers for mentioning about because he had a great game the other night. Bol had 24 the other night.
Bol's back.
Once again, I still believe that it's something that he's getting that opportunity. So he's going to feel it down there. He wasn't going to get 24 up here, but I love what I've seen from him. It looks like he gained some weight too, which that's good.
Yeah. But he's still moving really well, right?
Right, no, for sure.
Well.
But I'm like he needed to gain some type of weight because it was out of control.
But
yeah,
it's not like Manute was like fucking framed out.
No, that's true. But he was just like, he just needed to be. I think Dad didn't play as long as he could have either because of the small frame. So
right,
he had to develop the outside shot. Quick aside about that. Watch a video of his father. I think he played in Washington. And he hit 6 threes. and
nobody even shot threes back then.
Yeah, no, he shot. That's it. But honestly, he was so he wasn't moving like that. So yeah, he ended up shooting a few threes back there. I think, so it's like Charles brought me to the video, like, man, like, are you for real? So couldn't help but laugh at that moment because at that time it was an anomaly. Now it's a thing. It's just a thing of nature now for that to happen in an NBA game. But no, but back to the current day situation at hand. I think that they or another team, but they looking to be what Indiana has become and looking to become what, Cleveland has become, but they just have not stayed. Yeah, they haven't stayed healthy. And once again, if I will say this about Orlando and their management, so whether it be from the early 90s to now, if they have the number 1 pick, they're not going to miss.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
So whether it was Shaq,
Penny
Chris Webber,
like
Dwight Howard,
Let's be clear though. Let's be clear. As much as their drafting has been exceptional, I'm
saying just number 1 pick. I'm not saying like overall.
Sure. But their ability to hang on to those guys for, like we just talked about with Oklahoma City. I was about to call them the Supersonics, but like we just talked about with Oklahoma City, it's like. I don't want to see happen in that team like happen with Shaq and Penny, for instance, where it's like, no one's communicating. I'm not saying it's the same front office or anything like that, but no one's communicating. you got to make sure you pay guys if you want to keep them in a market like that. You can, and you don't want to do some stupid like put. Have you been watching the Shaq documentary? It's really good.
No, but I mean, I did watch the one with him and Penny, the Atlanta 30 for 30.
Yeah, and it's like it's
telling him that he wasn't worth 120, which is the joke.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I mean, it's bad, but you gotta put your best foot forward with these guys because Paolo might be the future of this league, you know. And
he'll be one of them for sure.
Him and obviously Wembanyama, he's gonna come in and he's gonna be like probably the greatest basketball player we've ever seen. So, if he stays healthy, obviously. But I mean, these two guys, these freakishly built, silky shooters, with unbelievable footwork. I knew Paolo was going to be decent. I don't know, I didn't really know about his strength and stuff, but damn, that footwork.
People were picking Jabari Smith to get it behind him.
No.
That's a hipster. I wish I could pull it. I'm telling you, there was people that was
I believe that they were. I believe you, but that's crazy.
Yeah, I was just like, I get it because of how he played. He was in the ACC. Also, I mean, the ACC, it was the Auburn, so he was in the SEC, my bad. But I'm like, okay. I mean, I get it. Anthony Edwards came out the SEC a few years ago. I get it. There's some talent. That's
good is good. Top 5 NBA drafts, good is good. And people were saying the same stupid shit about Luka. European.
Well, they were saying about Trae. So they was like, what's going on with Trae?
Yeah, but it's Luka was a no-brainer pick that year. You can't, people are going to do reviews.
Yeah, Sacramento. Sacramento.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like if you knew, you knew at that point. And it's Luka's like we were talking about the future of the league, he's going to be 30 and the best player in the NBA probably. So, or one of them. So it's, it's right there. Sure. So.
I mean, but that's one of the few trades where it's it worked out for both. Trae Young has been killing it in Atlanta. Dončić has been killing it in Dallas, obviously. So, it worked out perfectly for how.
Yeah, but if we're being honest, if you really were going to pick between the two guys for I'm going to go win myself a championship, you're taking Luka 10 times out of 10, right?
Well, I didn't see enough of Luka to even say that, but I knew he was.
But right now, if they're in a redraft.
I mean, right now you say that, but I'm when I saw Trae Young coming out of Oklahoma, I said, well, his game is transferable. I said he shoots lights out, and I said the biggest thing too, he's already an elite passer. And I'm big on that. If you're someone that's an elite passer, that transfers to the next level. So because he was already good at that, and he can get you buckets when he needs to, I'm he's gonna get you 25 a night, and that's what happened. Obviously, he's had to get a little bit bigger, a little stronger in the weight room, but New York City knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know that Trae can't get that.
No, totally. But I mean, you talk about getting, but I mean, don't just gloss over, get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. I think the big tell on Luka during that draft and now is was his size and it's the skill that he has for his size, and the fact that he came in playing with grown ass men. What?
He had to get in better shape too.
He did. No, of course, he definitely did. I feel his cardio wise for sure, especially. But I just feel he was playing with grown men, and I feel he came in a little bit more NBA ready for that reason. Yes. And I think it was. I also enjoyed. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to just be turning on the European League every night, but I do like that he came in and was hey, put some respect on the Euro League, dude. I'm playing with good players over there. My stats didn't really change that much.
15 and 16 on.
Yeah.
This is why guys like him, Dirk, Paul Gasol, back in the day, obviously there's always ones that ends up not doing so well, but there's so many that have done well, Petar Stojakovic, and there's plenty of guys that come over here, back in the day, even would go to stay at Marshall Salones, I think I'm saying it wrong, but he was one of the first guys that he was like the first Ginobili. You know what I'm saying? So it's there's plenty of telltales. So Justin Pekovic before he passed away was someone that was lights out in New Jersey. So
I just wonder. I don't know if any of them have come out.
Dirk obviously was.
Dirk would be my first obvious pick for our best European League player to ever come into the NBA, but I feel Luka's right there. Obviously, he hasn't.
He'll if he wins a couple, then he'll pass.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, well, the champion thing is obviously going to be the decider, right? You can't just sit there and say oh, he's better. You can't say it now.
I hate that it's it becomes the only deciding factor.
Totally.
I was just talking to it's funny. I was talking to my mom about this earlier because she was like, "Oh, did the Celtics win yesterday?" I was like, "Yeah, mom. They won by 13. She's like, how much
they only ever win now. It's great.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. But I mean, she doesn't follow me. Like she's a Showtime 80s person, that's her era. But anyway, but I was like, Mom, like Tatum had 49. She was like, wow, like she's like, he's really playing. I said, yeah. I said to me, and I'm like, this would be a good segue to talk about the Celtics and the Bucks, because obviously we haven't gotten to them yet. But I was like, yeah, I said he could be what Bird is, or was, I should say, if not more, but because he's going to be judged off the winning, it's like, that's what we're going to look at. Because I said the dude's getting 27, 28 a night, or the 30 a night this year.
You're preaching to the choir, my friend.
Yeah, the
one that said that shit last season.
No.
Better be a fucking Paul Pierce already.
We were talking about Pierce, though. We were talking about Pierce.
Yeah, but that's the stick everybody hit me with.
Bird is the holy grail around here.
No, I understand it. But if you're talking about Bird, then we're already way past Pierce in the conversation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now,
but the cudgel they used to hit me with, like when the internet reacted so aggressively to me saying that last season, which, don't worry, I'm a big boy. I can take it because I know I was fucking right. The fact of the matter is, everyone repeatedly hit me with the stick of, yeah, but Paul Pierce won us a championship. And it's like, I know, but I'm talking just about skill to skill. Like, Paul Pierce never came close to having a borderline MVP, if not full-blown MVP season like Jayson Tatum's having right now.
I mean, but even
not...
right, but I'll say this about Paul. So, he's still my favorite player all the time. Like,
I love Paul. That was never.
I'm saying for me personally, Paul Pierce, like I said, because obviously grew up with him, whatever, so on and so cool.
Same here. That's
don't even go down that. I know, but I mean, you're already off the boat. You're already off the boat. It's fine. But I'm just saying, for me, for those that still love. Well, I'm messing with you, but no. But those that still think about Paul Pierce being that guy, remember his fourth season. Obviously, the stuff going to the conference finals against the Nets, and some other moments that you remember him hitting the game winners, so on and so forth.
Of course,
I just think that
skills.
No, I know, but even skill was like the dude. There's a reason why Shaq nicknamed him in the season, whatever year 3 or year 4, came in there, dropped 50 on him, and was like, "Hey,
absolutely,
that's the motherfucking truth." Like,
yeah,
right. And today, Shaq, this is prime Shaq and Kobe. They were running the league at this time. There was somebody that was going to beat LA at that time.
Absolutely.
And
he's Mr. Celtic, and I think to me, he's always going to be my number one favorite Celtic. He's always going to be right there. I don't see Jayson Tatum ever taking that mantle from him. I don't see Jayson Tatum.
Well, if he was 3 or 4, he will.
No, because I think Paul was like Mr. Boston to me. Like, and I think that
for sure.
The time of our lives that we saw him win, and the time of our lives that we saw him play, like you can't really replicate the romance of that. So like personally, I'm always going to be like Paul number one. And Larry Bird, we were too young, so Paul was our guy, and we were happy to have him. What I'm trying to express to people about this argument is Jayson Tatum's skill level. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if mentally he has the same abilities that Paul Pierce does to get himself push through to a championship, because I haven't seen it. I think it takes an incredible amount of mental strength and basketball IQ and all these intangibles that you can't really judge until you hit the mark.
Right.
But I'm talking about straight up ball talent. It's just Jayson Tatum is absolutely fucking off the charts. He's off the fucking charts.
No. I mean, like the shot making level. Once again, he has a step back that Paul had. The step back, or really the side step, but the side step is ridiculous.
I might argue that Paul Pierce might have been harder to guard. Like he might have been harder to guard. Like,
well, yeah, legitimately, in the post, for sure.
Yeah, like just difficult to guard guy because he was awkward. He moved at a little bit of a 1.5 speed as opposed, it was a little strange. I think he had the best up fake in the history of basketball. I think that he had a ton of intangibles that made him really fucking hard to guard. But do people not see what Jayson Tatum's doing right now? It's hard to deny what has been seen. Like he's clearly taken another step from what he was even last season. You remember at the end of the Matrix when Neo stops the bullets and he's figured it out. He's like, oh shit, he knows.
Then that's exactly what's going on. Or even for those that we're not going to go down the baseball thing, but for those that remember, and once again, I think he's a better player than who I'm about to bring up. But this guy was an all-star. He was a champion in the sport. But I remember how fans, especially in New York and even in Texas, used to be upset about how Mark Teixeira would be a guy that would start off slow and then would catch fire from July on. That's what Tatum was these last few years.
Yeah, for
sure. Catch fire in the second half, but it's damn, can we get this from October? Because you have it, like clearly
yeah.
you have it. Like, why are you waiting to?
It was always like the All-Star break, and then we would see that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It was just like, what are we doing? And actually, I mean, the game that started off ironically because we talk about Pierce. He got his nickname in LA. So did Tatum. That game that they was out there after Kobe had passed away, I think in February or late January of 2020, he came on there, gave him 41 out there in LA. And then that's where LeBron was like, oh yeah, like he's the problem. Like, he's the problem. Like this is, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that there's parallels there, obviously, but that's what happened. And once again, I am glad that he is taking it seriously and saying, you know what, I'm going off from night one. And there's nothing any defender in this league can do consistently. Once again, there's always going to be times you could get 1 or 2 stops in a row.
Of course.
Everyone's
that's
good.
That's
consistently stop this man, like it's no longer happening, regardless of the defender, regardless of the team. He is a top 5 offensive talent and has become a top 10 player in this league. Sometimes to me, even top 3 on a given night. Dude is just special. And I said, we are witness to it on a consistent basis, especially me, because I see it up close and wrote in section 14, 15. So thank you, Sakura Sauce. So like I said, we obviously, you've heard us listen to we talked about the Celtics. They lead the not just the Eastern Conference, but the NBA as a whole at 18-4. Honestly, at this moment, to me, not just in the East, but in the NBA, the cream of the crop really is just Boston and Milwaukee. And like, listen, Boston's 18-4, Milwaukee's 15-5. So just, speak to that for me about how Boston and Milwaukee have and just, separated themselves, or do you think that it's just them two, or do you think anybody else can be in that category at this moment?
No, I mean, it is just them two. I think that at this moment in time, I think we'd be contradicting ourselves if we were to sit here now and say like, oh, the number 3 seed might be able to like keep up with them. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. So we just already did a whole section on them and how they're not really at that level. But that's not to say that it's easy to be at that level. I think that the Bucks are where they are because they have, a generational talent and one of the best, on a given night, top 1, top 2 NBA talents in the NBA. I think that having Giannis is an automatic lock for a 1 seed unless you have Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics playing like they are right now. And I think that like it's like 1 and 1A with those two. No Boston fan will confidently tell you that if we see them at this point, it would be in the Eastern Conference Finals, that we are in any way a lock to walk away from that series. Everybody knows the context of beating them last year, Kris Middleton not being in there, and also just the sheer exhaustion of watching your team have to defend Giannis every single night. I mean, yeah, he's going to get his. But you know what? He is going to get his. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think there's an argument to be made for the level of offense that we're producing right now. If we can maintain that and keep that consistent, I mean, we're breaking NBA records for the kind of offense we're putting together right now. Like, it's absolutely fucking insane. When I said to you at the start of the season, like maybe we just aren't playing as hard on defense because we don't need to. I didn't think we this much didn't need to. You know what I mean? It's like we can just fucking score. Like, it doesn't matter. With Giannis being able to do what he's able to do, like maybe Grant Williams can do some stuff. He's pretty good at defending him for like his size and kind of talent ratio. But I think he's going to get what he's going to get. And everybody was like, well, if Middleton was in there, yes. But I'm not sure that if Middleton was in their version of the Bucks from last year are that much better now. And I know that the Celtics are a lot better. I know that we've gone up like a whole level.
Right.
So
and
I don't think adding Middleton is going to be enough for them anymore. I'd like to think. I don't know.
Well, that's what every fucking fan has been saying. Because if you didn't notice, they're really 20-0 because they can't be 15-5 because if Kris Middleton's not on the floor, it
doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It
doesn't count.
No, so they're really 20-0. So I get it. Great. He's a very good player. He is. He's a very good player.
And he matches up against
he's been a thorn. He's been a thorn in Boston's side a majority of his career. He has taken over for the previous 22 that was in Milwaukee, and that was Michael Redd. That's another nice little casual name out there. Michael Redd was a better shooter, but Kris Middleton is better than him as a player. But Michael Redd was also someone that's to kill him. And Milwaukee was always a house of horrors, regardless of what who was out there, right? And obviously they just happen to have a top 5 player in the world and Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I get that. they are talented, but my thing is, you're not telling me now at this stage, once again, a year later, Grayson Allen is not doing anything to Tatum or Brown.
No.
Not consistently. Wes Matthews, whoever who's there, like, I'm sorry. Once again, I like Beauchamp. I like him after they just drafted him this year from the G League. I like his game. Obviously, Jrue Holiday is a heck of a player. Once again, defensively, he's going to get a few stops, but just the way at the addition, I cannot say this enough. And we talked about this. And we talked about what his role would be. I got to do a little bit of victory lap. The 6-man role for Brogdon is killing it. He's killing it.
Yeah,
I know you want him to start,
yeah.
but that him off the bench is what has solidified.
No, I think you're totally right.
Really good to that. Just out of this world, and for him to have back-to-back games this week of 21, 6, and 5, like once like that is huge. Which is why I'm like, no, don't have him in the starting lineup unless you really need him to be in there. Yeah. And once again, he's done exactly what you said. He's gonna play. Well, no, they haven't been taking him out, but I'm like, I want to see, and that's what we saw.
Defensively,
on Wednesday.
Last night. Yeah, defensively, I think we're gonna have a little bit of trouble with him, like rotationally if he starts, and I think he just needs to be playing off their second best scorers minutes, like, and I think that really works for him because then he can like concentrate on his. I'm not saying he's a bad defender, but I just think that we do.
Oh, he's a great defender.
Yeah, I just think that we do. Like, I think we defend a little bit differently with him in there. And I think when you have Marcus kind of getting into his groove the way that we have him doing that to start games, I think I do at this point do like that better now that I've sort of seen it actually play out. To me, it was just like put the best 5 guys out there, like what the fuck. But it's so situational. Yeah, right. And he's so situational, or we're so situationally elite now that. And I think it is because of guys like Brogdon, as mostly Brogdon, but like other guys that come off the bench now and are so situationally perfect for like a lot of different teams, and we can throw so many defensive looks at teams on paper, even though we haven't been playing a ton of defense this year so far. But we can throw such an elite amount of offensive looks because if Malcolm Brogdon's your 4th shooter, you're fine.
Yeah,
like you're doing so good. And he might not even be like Al Horford might be the 4th shooter. Like maybe Malcolm Brogdon's like our 5th shooter and he's like a really good shooter. And then to have him and Derek White do kind of a lot of the same stuff at different times, but Derek White's game, I think, moves at a little bit of a different pace. Like you made such a good point about Brogdon and last season about like no one's ever going to be able to slow him down. And I feel like him and the way that D White has been playing this season, we're now able to slow the game down, and the like kind of slow the game down Celtics don't look fucking atrocious anymore because they have these guards that can like just like, I don't know, split a lane, but then like just to get everybody set up and then come back out and like just set things up and like move at their own pace. And they're never, they're 2 guys that can always have their eyes up, right? Like always have their eyes up because they're never going to get worried about somebody taking the ball off them because their ball handling is unbelievable, but also they're fast enough and they move at a good enough pace that like no one's close enough to them. That would be suicide, right? So they're able to sort of just see the game in like a prime Rajon Rondo way. Like I'm not saying they're that good, but they have that sort of see the game thing going on with them at the guard position. So for me, it's perfect. I love our guards. Like I really do. I think our guards are set up so perfectly. I think it looks great across the board. And I think adding Rob Williams, and like we were talking about in the context of Milwaukee, like adding Rob Williams into this, like our 1 through 5 is so much stronger than their 1 through 5 plus Malcolm Brogdon. And like, I mean, I know we're going to talk about the quarter season awards at the end of this, and we might have done some spoilers here, but like I would give Malcolm Brogdon the fucking 6th man of the year right now. I'd give Paolo the fucking rookie of the year right now. Like there's a couple that are locked up, so
for sure.
I think you're absolutely right. You deserve your flowers for that call. I really did think it was a lie. I really thought we were going to see it start by now, but no. I mean, honestly, we look great. Like I love how our minutes are distributed. I love how our guards play. I love Derek White. I really think he's come into his own. You were so right about him, but he might have even surpassed your expectations at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is past what I thought, but I was like, this is what he could be if you're surrounded by other good players. Right. I seen San Antonio, and he was still there when Kawhi was there, and then Kawhi traded. So I was like, yeah, like if you're around good talent, like he's gonna produce. It's just a matter.
I can
of
see him hitting like a massive three in the playoffs, like a huge
that's what happened in the Miami series. Like he ended up helping to win that series because he was huge in them last 3 or 4 games. So yeah, him getting 15 tonight is huge. But it's like never, like I said, they're not sped up, and then the floor was constantly spaced out.
Yeah.
So when Tatum's driving,
spacing's perfect,
easy because they're not doing it. So I think that's where the biggest, changes happened, which is why I thought Brogdon would have been better off the bench. Like I said, we'll as we do more, Celtic shows, but I just think that's where that was. So, we could leave it at that for the Eastern Conference. Once again, there's
one more tiny thing though, just because I keep forgetting to say this when we talk about the Celtics on our podcast, but Marcus Smart's passing has not been gotten enough play on the improvement, I think, this season.
Yeah, 15 the other night. Phenomenal, yeah.
I just think, like, we saw glimpses of it in the playoffs because he started to, like, try stuff. Like, it would be the only way I can describe it. But I think his vision has gone up, like, exponentially. And I think that the way he's approaching the game and his, like, mentality about passing is a little bit different now. And I think like we're starting to see like a real perfect version of Marcus Smart, and I'm not saying he doesn't still do stuff that would like aggravate a lot of people that aren't ready to live with that yet. I am. I've accepted it. That's okay. I know you have too, because it's the right thing to do, and everyone will get there eventually. But I really do think that he's doing less of that stuff that does bother people and more of the stuff that they like, and it's really tremendously helping the team. I love watching him play. I love him being our third best player. It works out perfectly in my head.
Yeah, I mean, he's, it's love and trust, right?
Yeah.
Love and trust with Marcus.
And and I like you're now confident, I think, in the trifecta, the holy triumvirate's sort of feelings about each other and the trust that they have there and the way that they play with each other.
Yeah, Jalen said it. He was like, Marcus Smart has looked out for me and done, certain things. And the numbers.
I know they've had their ups and downs too. So.
Well, no, for sure. And they probably still will. But it's like the numbers for Tatum and Brown when Smart is not there is such a drop off. It's just a matter of getting guys in the right spots, and like I said, there's a lot of different nuances that he adds.
He does a lot of their dirty work for him, like a lot of their water.
Exactly. So it's just like they're gonna get better. I'll give this one last nugget because like I said, you brought this up, but I'm sold on Cornette. Yeah, I know we had an issue about him being the fourth guy. We talked about it, but I'm like that. If he's gonna do what he's been doing. You don't need to bring somebody else. Not right now. Not yet. Anyways, not yet. Maybe by the All-Star break. But what he's been doing this last month, I was like, I'll take it. Cause once again, he's not. You don't need him to get. Even though he had a game with 15-8, which I was like, well, if he's getting that, then it won't matter who's around us. Like you can't get 15 from Allen and 15 from him, and then 20 and 30 from Tatum and Brown. I think you're gonna get this. That's not fucking happening. Yeah. But I really enjoy what I've seen from him. And I'm there now. The fans they're bought into Luke. Like they're doing celebrations. Like
it's more that
they love Luke. Like, he has become a
mascot celebration.
Has become a fan favorite for sure. For sure.
I think I'd rather trade Grant Williams than him, but I always want to trade Grant Williams. So I don't know how much that says.
Well, before we get bashed in the comments about it, let's go to the West. Let's go to the West, man. So just like the East, like there's a lot of great storylines, a lot of crazy storylines that we expected, some that we didn't expect as well that are happening. So I'll just start with the unexpected. Man, the Utah Jazz, Portland Trailblazers, like looking like potential playoff not contenders, but they have a chance to get into the playoffs. So just, what are your thoughts about those two teams? We kind of touched on it earlier on, but just what have you seen for them two teams that makes you think it's going to be sustainable, makes you think that one of them may fall back?
I think the thing that happened, if we had talked about the Utah Jazz maybe 2 weeks ago, I think there would have been like it would have been a little easier for me to believe in some of the stuff that they're doing, but I do like the fact that they're sort of an island of misfit toys, like a lot of just like rejected second and third players sort of like all getting together and getting a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and not being super pleased about maybe how they were perceived coming into the season, especially as essentially a rebuild team, like Danny went and got some contracts so that he could accrue some picks so that he could start building his own team. And he, I think, did that successfully and maybe didn't really want them to be playing as well as they're playing.
Right.
You're never going to be mad about your team winning games if you're Danny Ainge. Like, I know that guy's a competitor.
Nah,
but,
he's pissed.
but maybe he is. Like, I don't know. I think that guy's a fucking genius. I find it insane how much we slandered him here in Boston towards the end. But if you look at their assets right now, it's fucking insane. But
Yeah.
I think they're fun. But if I was gonna pick either one to slide, it would not be the team with like Damian Lillard on it. You know what I mean? Like I just think you can sort of already see what's happening to them. I think it was a cool start. I do think they're going to start fading. On paper, they're not going to work. The Trailblazers aren't as much of a surprise for me, to be honest with you, because there's just some names on there that you just know can come fucking hoop. But they're constituted a little strangely, like Nurkic and Justice Winslow and Damian Lillard. Like they're not a traditionally well put together basketball team. So I think that's probably why or the general basketball media wasn't 100% like believing that they might make a little leap. But again, I mean, I don't mean to be a naysayer, but it's like we are right at that sweet spot in the season where these teams start to go. But to answer your question in a more concise way, I think if I was going to bet on one team to slide and one team to push, I would say the Jazz will slide and the Blazers will push, just based on who their players are. I mean, if you looked at the Trailblazers roster, you can pick a lot of Dave players out of there. So I'm just going to go with them.
No, facts. I think, listen, when you draft Walker Kessler, who was the ACC, player of the year, or son of the year, one of the two, I forget which award he won, but I think about, obviously our guy Kelly Olynyk coming over there, really doing this thing. Lauri Markkanen, who I said, well, I'll speak about him a little bit later. Chicago fans and Cleveland fans have to be sick watching how well he's played over there. It's unbelievable. And then, you had the, Mr. Steady Eddie, Mike Conley, who he's always been good. I was hoping, I was like, if it wasn't going to work with Marcus and what was going on, I was like, hey, I know Mike Conley's going to give me 15 and 7 tonight. I know that for a fact. He's going to play good defense. He's not going to cause problems in the locker room. So I'm like, yo, if we're going to blow this up, that's fair. I was like, Mike Conley would be perfect in a Celtic uniform. It was just that fact. I'd say he's 35 years old. That's the biggest problem, obviously. But shout out to his agent that got him that 5-year, $153 million deal, all guaranteed. Like, if we're picking from those two rosters in the context of this conversation, if we're picking one guy to come to the Celtics from either of those rosters, I'm taking Horace Grant's nephew. Oh, Jeremy Green.
I'm taking.
I was about to get into
taking 49 and 49 the other night. Like fucking dudes. He's sick.
I didn't know. What's he like? This, like, he's had moments.
He's Syracuse guy, right?
Denver.
Syracuse.
Came out of Syracuse. Like, had moments in Denver. Had moments in Philadelphia. Like, okay, Philadelphia
drafted him
player. But I'm like,
during the process.
Right, yeah. To get to the trust the process, right, exactly. So many guys came to it too. Vucevic came to it. It's wild. It's insane. But I just think about what I've seen from Jeremy Grant. I'm like, oh my God. Like, he'd probably love him playing under Chauncey Billups, because Chauncey Billups was like, yo, just go. And their kid off the bench, Shannon Sharp, like, eventually, once they move on from Dame, it's going to be Sharp and Simons in that backcourt. And they're going to be a very exciting backcourt to watch. My guy Nazir Little out of UNC is also someone that's been a key contributor to them. So yeah, Josh Hart, it was also someone that we had talked about with the trade.
Stewart's there, right, from Detroit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Good.
So
good.
Yeah, so it's like
there's
so many stuff there. So they have some pieces that, like I said, they're unconventionally put together for sure. But I think that's what maybe makes them elite, and he is a part of this crew that's coming back. So Damian Lillard's coming back. Harden's also coming back, and then obviously Kris Middleton is making a return. So there's a lot of great talent coming back into the league this season. But yeah, I think it's pretty obvious to know that, like, Utah would be the team that falls. So want to get into the team that our Celtics faced in the finals, and that is the reigning defending champions, the Golden State Warriors. But they have not looked like the reigning defending champions. They are currently either one game above 500 or they're at 500 right now. They've been abysmal on the road, to say the least. So, I think the floor is yours, sir. what is going on with the Golden State Warriors, and why do you think they've gone out to this slow start?
Well, I think they had to put a lot into the campaign that they put together last year. I think that Steph Curry was on a fucking mission, and I'm not sure we should hang our heads losing to a guy of Steph's caliber playing the way he was playing, as much as it hurts.
Right.
And I don't want to fucking talk about it, but here we are. But no, I mean, I think that they were always going to hit a little bit of a hangover because they had to put, like I said, put a lot into to winning that championship. I also think that just the roster is a little kind of strangely put together at this point. Like how does Wiseman fit into the rotation? Should Draymond Green still really be there at this point? Like he's almost more of a liability to them than anything else. I know he pulled it out of the fire after the two or three abysmal games in the finals to sort of basically come back and bury us. Yeah. I think we're never going to see Draymond Green do that again. I think that you can maybe move him for something this season of actual value, but I don't know if they're doing that to him because, and credit to them, because I think that they have a lot of loyalty in that organization. I really thought we were going to see him get shipped out when he beat the fuck out of Jordan Poole, when he fucking dog walked fucking Jordan Poole in that practice. But I mean, take guys like Jordan Poole, for instance. It's like, yeah, I'm glad he got his money, but I don't know. He's not going to hit the heights for me that you need to help a Steph Curry at the age that he is have a really successful regular season and playoff run. The way that like Klay Thompson was able to by being his Tonto to his Lone Ranger, and just the pure shooting that he brought in the kind of early eras and golden era of the Golden State Warriors now, like pre-KD. But I think it's a strangely constituted roster, and I get the feeling that Steph was like, I think this is my last shot to go and win a championship, and that's why he was on the mission that he was on. I think that it was like the last fire of a great jet, that just had a little bit of gas left in it, and showed us all like what it was to be a winning team, because they really are. Unarguably, it would be stupid to argue that they are not the team of the 2010s. Like, they easily are the team of the decade. And to just come and like just show us one more great one was totally awesome, but not for us. But
right, exactly.
But I think that you're seeing what it is, and I think it's just the end of an era. I think that it's going to be really hard to put together a team as good as you need to be to win an NBA championship again in Golden State for a little while, at least.
Yeah, I mean, and even the pieces they lost, so they lost Gary Payton II, who's up in about to say in Seattle.
It was so important for them.
Yeah, not Seattle. Sorry, he's in Portland. Gotta
get a Seattle team back on the map.
Right, I know, right? Yeah, bring it back, right? But I think about that. I think about Otto Porter leaving. I think about pieces they lost, right? So it's hard when you become the hunter, right? And obviously, Curry, Klay, Dre have been there. Obviously, Iguodala, the Celtics bench have been there. A lot of those guys have been the hunter.
Iguodala's been old since like.
Oh no, right? But I'm saying, I'm just someone. He's become the Iguodala's house over there, right?
No, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I just think that when you're not used to being in that position, right? And I remember K. Smith talking about this on the Clutch Time documentary, which speaks about the Houston Rockets winning their back-to-back championships in 94 and 95. And when they beat, New York in 94, guys were coming back, rocket shades and having like these big old Walkmans and these new cars. Like, so it's like the guys that did the dirty work before, the guys that were your grit and grind, not to steal stuff from Memphis, but the whole hustle and flow thing, right? That those guys become, they become, oh, I'm a star. Like, I did this, I did that.
Champions.
I'm a champion now type thing. So they instantly forget what it took to get them to the moment. And I think that's part of the reason what's happening, to the struggles. And obviously, if you're not great on the road, you cannot be a champion regardless of whatever you're in, or who your players are, so on and so forth. Like, they have not been great on the road. They are phenomenal at home. Like I said, our Celtics face them pretty soon in their building in Chase Arena. So Chase Center, whatever it's called now, it'll always be Oracle to me.
Yeah, right.
But you know what I'm saying? So I just think that. But yeah, there's a multitude of things. And I know you talked about moving off Draymond. I think actually, to me, I would have a conversation about talking about Klay. I think that he's
Well,
also
yeah, but I don't know what kind of market's out there for him is the problem.
well. I
I'd be a
mean,
little stuck with him.
sure, but I mean, I just think that maybe you trade him to Indiana for Buddy Hield.
Oh, that would make them instantly better.
Yeah, maybe you do that, something like that, and Clay could be Reggie Miller light over there for the next 4 or 5 years. And so
Very light.
right.
Reggie Miller, very light.
Yeah,
Reggie Miller, 0. Same great
Reggie Miller
taste,
zero.
huh?
Reggie Miller zero sugar. I love it.
Not quite as sweet. Not quite as sweet. We used a lot less sauce in this.
Yeah. So I mean, so that'd be cool. So once again, I mean, that is wishful thinking. That is just us throwing stuff out there. But yeah, like there's a multitude of things of what has gone wrong.
I think they'd all rather play together too, though. At this point, and I think like Curry
sure, but I just I'm over it. Yeah.
No, me too.
I'm over it. The fatigue, you definitely had sat in, but once again,
I wonder if
they'll make a run though. They'll make a run.
Yeah, sure. I wonder if Kerr is a good enough coach to sort of make us eat our words the way that Pop has with different iterations of the Spurs teams over the years.
He's a Pop disciple. I think he could.
Yeah, I just think like there's as much as this is the vibe I'm getting from them now. I feel like I probably said that about a couple of Spurs teams that proved me wrong. Like starting off with maybe 9 losses that they shouldn't have had, and I was like, yeah. I mean, it's great that the Spurs, but I mean, Tony Parker's 33, and I'm sure I was that guy at one point, and I will say just to slightly, I guess, temper my take is you can never sleep on a team that's been together this long. That's this experience.
Oh, for sure,
this fucking good. So
sure.
There is that.
I think last year was their 2014 Spurs moment, though.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I'm hoping that Boston has the 2014 Spurs moment.
Yeah, right.
And which it looks like they are, because I'm like they're blowing everyone out the building, which is what San Antonio did that year too. And that was Tim Duncan's last hurrah as a top talent in the league. But yeah, I want to stay in California. Want to go down. If I'm wrong, tell me wrong. But is it the I-5, right? I-5.
Yeah, the 5's the north south.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
Nice.
All right,
Nice
I passed geography, baby. Woo.
Well done. Well done.
So yeah, down to I-5, down to LA, down to the Staples Center. LA, in the words of Ice Cube, I can't say today has been a good day. It's kind of good day. I'll start with the Clippers because they're obviously the better team right now. They're 13-9, I think 12-9, 13-9. Tyronn Lue has done a hell of a job. Once again, if we were to get rid of Missoula for whatever reason, because they didn't want him around, Ty Lue to me would be perfect up here, but that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Kind of hate him,
but I love him as a coach. I think he's great. I think
he's just associated with a lot of like rivalry moments.
Oh, sure.
I would immediately get over it. I would get over it.
Yeah, but he was already here as an assistant though, so on the dock. But I think time. That in the early 2010s. But I think that Paul George obviously has been hooping that he got hurt, and obviously John Wall's come back and looked good. Reggie Jackson has done well. Zubac has looked really good as well too. Like he had a game of 31, 29 the other night, so he's been special.
You're skirting around the elephant in the room, though.
But I am. I'm getting there. No, I'm speaking to what's going well for them. But should the Kawhi Leonard end in LA?
I mean, is the Kawhi Leonard era over in America? Is it over in the NBA? I mean, what the fuck is going on? I don't
know. The people that's listening want to know. We want to know.
When Kawhi Leonard won a championship with the Toronto Raptors, there was a really, really strong case, and it could be factually true that he was the best player in the NBA, and like that year. And I think that it might have been harder to argue against. And when he won that championship, considering what we thought about that supporting cast, what we saw Kawhi do, obviously in that run up, and some of the shots he made, and some of the absolute defensive, glorious defensive performances that he put in, like really just like unbelievable, like robotic, insane. But and he was super kind of popular, strangely, on the web. He had some memes, and he was kind of goofy, and people were into it.
What it do, baby?
And yeah, and people really forgave him for sort of being the first guy to turn his back, for lack of a better phrase, I guess, on the Popovich Spurs. And even Pop, I think, was like, yeah, I don't know, we might have fucked him over a little bit with the medical staff. I don't know. And I don't know if he ever really came out and said that, but he was sort of like, I don't know, if the guy wants to leave, the guy wants to leave. But Does he want to play basketball? Is he interested in playing basketball?
I don't think that he does. And once again, we have killed. We've talked about Kyrie taking time off. We talked about some other players taking time off. Yeah. We never get on Kawhi Leonard, and that's fucking wild to me. But guess what? Look at the missing the point where we hold and we keep the same energy. Kawhi Leonard should be on the court. Once again, that's your fucking job. Yeah, and once again, unless you have a chronic knee injury, which I firmly believe that's what's going on, and they're trying to give a lot of smoke and mirrors here. If you can,
you're saying a chronic knee injury, like he's not going to see the court again ever?
No, chronic, like meaning like it's just something that's always going to be. Like he'll play 3 or 4 games.
You're just gonna have to play on that.
And have to rest it.
Play on that.
But, yeah, exactly. So I just think, to me, once again, he's a 2-time champion. He's a Finals MVP. He's a Defensive Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. The resume is already there. Like he'll be in the Hall of Fame at some point. Later on, when it's all said and done. But it's like, man, when he leaves to go to 2019, and this is why I said this on the air. I've said this on phone calls. FaceTimes, any way you can reach me. I've said it to you for those that are back. I've said to people he should have never left Toronto. Masai Ujiri and Nick Nurse did whatever they could to cater to him to make sure his body was right for those 60 games. Yeah. And then they went crazy on the East. Like they smacked Orlando. I think they played Milwaukee in the conference finals there. And I'm just like, yo, like they did everything right. And once again, I know Carolina was getting older at the time, but you had Van Vliet, you had a young Siakam, you had, Boucher, like, they had guys that still killing it there. Could you imagine? Well, granted, they wouldn't have got Scotty Barnes because the pitch would have been higher, but excuse me. I just think that they would have been even better than what they are. Like, they're just floating above water.
I don't know. I think he was propping them up. They fucking stink.
no, but they're in the playoff picture is what I'm saying, though. Like, they're not. No,
I agree. I'm just fucking around.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, running joke, guys, for those that
I think
OG listeners, but
I think you're right from a basketball sense. I genuinely think you're right from a basketball sense. I think that's obviously true.
Yeah, only that though. Only that.
Well, I don't really begrudge moving to LA from Toronto because, like, as you're a basketball player, like you live in Los Angeles, your fucking life is sick.
I mean, I've heard that Toronto's a I've never been,
but I just in a sense of being a basketball player in Los Angeles, like this is since Magic Johnson made this like the place to come and fucking party. This is like where you want to be if you're, and like, this is where you're taking all your meetings about your fucking shoes and your all that stuff. And like, and this is not a slight on Kawhi at all. I encourage this from everybody that is excelling in their field. Like, Kawhi Leonard's on record about being here to get his fucking bag, man. Like that's like, he's on fucking record about that. So I think there's a world where he was like, just not thinking about things from a basketball sense quite as much when he made that move. And was just like, well, if I'm there, I can do this and I can get this endorsement deal. And I think I'll be more connected with this and blah, 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 blah. And I think him and his business manager had lots of conversations. And it's not the basketball purist way of looking at things. And it's maybe not. Like,
I just think it would have been there regardless. And that's my problem. I just feel like.
Maybe. I just think LA's appealing. There's a reason LeBron's here. Win,
if you continue to win, sorry to cut you off, but if you continue to win, he was getting 26, 27 a night. Yeah. On one leg, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking? Like, to me, that's gonna come if you win the endorsements and all the accolades come with that. Like,
I don't think I don't
understand the need to move. Like, when, like, truth be told, I lived in Florida for 7 years. People, I mean, obviously LeBron came down because he wanted to play with Wade or whatever, but people aren't running to come to South Beach because it's not a basketball area. People come to Miami because they want to party and do some other stuff, but not coming down there because you're looking to play ball. And maybe that's what it was with him with the Tempest. But I'm like, yo, you end up pushing a trade for Paul George.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think he got the guys that he was like. He thought he.
No, he wanted. He got Paul George.
He got Paul George, but
yeah, but I don't know. I'd see SGA, who was in that trade, was fucking killing it in OKC. I think that he would have been.
Where are you on Paul George?
He was in that trade. He was in that trade.
No, but where are you on Paul George? Like, how do you view Paul George? Which camp are you in?
I think he's phenomenal. I just think he needs to be better in the postseason, but I think he's phenomenal talent.
But that postseason record is fucking damning, though.
It is, but I mean, but people forget pre-injury. This man told LeBron back-to-back years of seven games.
That's true. Defensively, also,
he was not that talented. Besides him,
I thought him and Kawhi together were going to be like the best defensive player.
Yeah, but guess what? That's not happening in Boston, baby. Everything Everything you
best duo.
motherfuckers thought about Kawhi and Paul George,
Yeah.
you can catch it at 100 Causeway Street, Boston, Massachusetts.
Dude,
I'm
people
there
fucking
tonight.
killed me for comparing Jaylen Brown to Paul George when he first came in the league. People killed me for that, bro.
Okay, I mean,
It's
he
like-
wasn't that then, but he
No, but
he's
that's
now.
not what I was saying. I wasn't saying he was as good as him when he came into the league. I was like, I just think they have a very similar like profile of talent. And people
Yeah.
were like, oh, I'm like, Paul George sucks in the playoffs, and I'm like, no, I'm just talking about how they play basketball, man. Like, I just think like they have a great defensive base. I think they're both super fucking athletic. Obviously, Paul George, like, injury notwithstanding. And I think that they both, like, maybe need to work on their shot a little bit and their handles a little bit. I just think they're very similar players, you know? And I think it's like where those ceilings go in those skill sets is, like, where they're going to be. But I think Jaylen Brown mentally is a lot stronger. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think, obviously, you know, for Paul George to come back from the injury, like, it was very gruesome. Obviously, like, it was Gordon Hayward. Yeah, Gordon Hayward level gruesome. But he was also younger than Hayward when it happened, so I think that's what kind of helped him get back on track. You know, you want to talk about segment, man, but that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, I just think that he's been special when he's played so far this year. But I just think that I'm not sure the fan base cares enough because, like I said, because it is LA. But if I'm in the locker room, like, I'm pissed that them guys aren't available when
Dude, I almost bought Clippers season tickets that I was gonna like resale, like buying a fucking ounce of weed and like selling it by the gram. You know, I really thought I was gonna like apply that business logic to, and then go see them when use the tickets when the Celtics came into town. I was like, oh, Kawhi's gonna come back. They're gonna be worth so much. Like, people are really gonna want to buy him. Thank God I didn't fucking do that, because nobody wants to go see a fucking Clippers game right now with those guys not on the floor. So that would have fucking hurt me. That would have hurt me. It would have been a bad investment.
Right, but exactly. Well, speaking of bad investment, let's go right across the locker room in the LA Lakers. Yes, I love that they are struggling right now.
Struggling is a fucking kind way to put it.
If you were looking for unbiased talk with this, you're not getting it.
Well, that just, I mean, we might be biased, but they might. That doesn't make them any less trash.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I just think, to me, with the 8-11, I mean, they have played better as of late. I think I forgot that they signed in a shooter. I know he's back on there. He's done well for them.
Yikes.
Yeah. I mean, but hey, he's played well. Listen, I'm gonna hop off Anthony Davis right now because, once again,
really,
he
deserves something.
The way he's played the last couple of weeks, man,
I know, but like the commitment levels, man. You know what I'm saying. Like,
oh, sure, but I'm like, he's definitely stepped up when LeBron was out, and I was like, well, if they had this guy next to him like this, then they'd go back to at least the conference finals. At least. It's just a matter of, obviously,
but
being
like
healthy,
Russ
and Russ not being good as it used to be. So
good, just end of the good.
It's not
Russ not being good.
He's been good off the bench for them, and I think that
come on.
I mean, better than what people expected. He was better. He's been off the bench than the starter this year with them, anyways.
No, yeah, obviously the right move was to bring Russ to make Russ an energy guy off the bench, and the question was whether or not he would like accept that role, and he has, which is great. But I just think it's like, what the fuck are you like? We talked about signing Russell Westbrook. I'm not gonna call Mike out. I guess I just did, but it's like we talked about signing Russell Westbrook.
I'm with you. Call him up.
I told you what he was gonna look like on any team he went to, and this is exactly what I said he was gonna look like. Is what he looks like. That contract is dragging them down. Their shooting numbers are still atrocious. And
right,
when was the last year that LeBron was the best player in the NBA? For sure, because it's not this year anymore. Like, we're finally, I think, firmly into the era where he's not going to be
probably the year that they lost to Golden State in 2018.
Nailed on. He's our best player.
That great. He had that great Game 7 against us at the end. Had 51 Game 1.
Yeah.
They should have won that game. They were going to win that series, but they should have won that game because he was phenomenal. That's one of the best finals performances I've ever seen. Bar none.
It's just you're starting to see. I caught a little bit of them playing the Pelicans, and I just think you're starting to see stuff happen to LeBron James that like never would have happened to LeBron James like when we were younger. And this isn't a criticism. I mean, the man's put in a lot of great miles and minutes into the NBA. He's just showing his age a little bit. I watched him try to kind of go back and forth one-on-one with Oh my god, why am I fucking blanking on his name? Zion, and he didn't look good. From like athletic.
Yeah, I mean, Zion is a young bull, and
but it wasn't even like it wasn't even like, all right, let me like put on a little fucking dribble and like wet one in your face. It was like bad. Like he was just getting fucking thrown around. This is crazy to see this happen with LeBron James. I mean, I know he's old. I'm not celebrating it. It's just
I mean,
it was just kind of weird to see it and like process it, if that makes sense, and be like, oh, okay, LeBron James, that's like
dominated. So
he's getting bodied, like, and just like Zion was just like, I'm gonna take it to him right now, and he just did, and he did it because it's LeBron James. You know, he's like, oh fuck yeah, like fuck
oh yeah, for sure.
And that target. I think that target on his back is gonna be a heavy weight to bear if he ever wants to try and win another championship. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't have them on the agenda, but I love what I've seen from New Orleans as well. Yeah, I think they're a team that makes the playoffs as well in the Western Conference.
I like Zion a lot, to be honest.
You think he holds up? You said?
No, I think I like Zion a lot. I think the criticism, the worry with him, obviously, like his body and like if he like is going to be able to stay healthy in his frame and stuff. But I think he looks great. Like, honestly, like I think it looks like he's in the best shape of his life. So yeah, I think they can make a fun run.
Yeah, Zion, you can't be out there looking like me on the court.
I mean, he wasn't.
He was close. He was close.
I was just worried about his fucking ankles for a minute there. Like he jumped really fucking high, dude.
Yeah. But I'm glad he's back and.
No, he's looking good. He's looking good.
They have really, I love Jose Alvarado, aka GTA. Grant.
I love him. I love him. I would take that spark. I would take that spark off the bench for the Celtics in 1 second. We were talking about this in the Discord, I think, a couple weeks ago when we played them. Yeah. He's great. He gets like one like awesome transition steal a game. Like he's all energy. He's all fire. He's attitude. Like he's cool. I love him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's great.
I would take him in a second. I would trade Pritchard for him in like one heartbeat, but I don't think they're doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I don't think they're doing that.
No, they're not gonna do it. But absolutely. So, but yeah. So they're that team that to look out for as well. So let's jump. Let's kind of do this rapid fire because we're long on time here. So we're gonna jump into the awards. So you kind of already said this, but you can say just real quick. Give me a name for MVP so far.
Jayson Tatum.
Right. I mean, even though Tatum, I got Luka right now for.
Listen, I think they probably will give it to Luka because I know how the MVP voting works, and I know that the kind of the criteria that they're looking for in an MVP.
Yeah,
and I think that following along with the traditional criteria of the MVP award, I think Luka probably will get it. But if we're just saying who the best player is right now.
Yeah,
it's Tatum right now.
Yeah,
it's Tatum.
Yeah, no, sure. Once again, not here to be mad about that, but I just
think they often hand out the MVP award as like a consolation prize to a really good player on a shitty team, and I think that like Luka's got that written all over him this season. To be honest,
no,
that supporting cast is just letting him down so fucking hard, and it's just like it's sad to see. So
they're not good, but yeah,
they're not.
Yeah,
he is.
This is a consensus for us right now. Rookie of the year, it's Paolo Banchero.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, so.
I can probably predict next year's Rookie of the Year too, to be honest with you. but yeah,
you gotta be healthy though. Gotta be healthy.
Yeah.
And then six man. What do you have for 6 man?
I wanted to give it to Brogdon.
Okay.
I mean, again, I'm biased as fuck.
I know. Some people are thinking Russ or people think whatever, but I think that
Russ getting it would make a lot of sense too. I honestly think that like his switch to the bench was a little bit more high profile, and like I don't know, stats wise, he might be actually edging Brogdon out as far as like consistently putting up points as a spark off the bench. But I mean, I don't know. Like Brogdon's a guy that would start on 28 teams. So I don't, it's like including ours if we were set up differently. So yeah, to me, 6 man for Brogdon.
Yeah, I was struggling with this one here, but just maybe think about Defensive Player of the Year. What would be so far? I mean, I don't think it's going to be Gobert. I don't know who that would be.
Well, it's like they never give it back to back, right? But even if they didn't, or even if they did, Smart like probably isn't going to win it this year. I mean, like Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it probably could be him again. Like he's always in.
OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby. I would.
Yeah. Remember OG from Portland. So I mean Portland, Toronto. So yeah. So I think
you mentioned Rudy Gobert earlier. I mean,
yeah, but no, safe pick probably be Giannis. I think Giannis is always someone that could be in that.
He's probably he's still in the MVP conversation too. By the way, like that's not.
Right. Oh, for sure.
That's by no means like decided.
Yeah, not at all. But and then last but not least, for the most improved player, who do you have there?
I know we talked about a couple of guys that might be nominated for this, but for me, the standouts, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's really stepped into his own. I think he's become like a untradeable piece on that team. I think you can actually build some shit around him. And considering the amount of picks that those fuckers have coming up, I think that most improved player award is going to look mighty, mighty nice hanging on his mantle in a few years, because I really think he stepped up. And I was always kind of pulling for him too. So that would be my pick. I know that there's definitely some other candidates though this year. Yeah. It's actually one of the more interesting most improved player award years.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there are a lot of guys coming through and stepping up. But for me, it'd be him for right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's Lauri Markkanen.
So a good pick.
Yeah, I just think 21-9.
He was already pretty good though.
Yeah. Right, but I'm like, I'm not sure when he got drafted 7th in 2016, like, or 2017, whatever.
Yeah,
like, I'm not sure people was like, okay, like, this is what, like, obviously Chicago was hoping for that, Cleveland hoped for that, but
yeah,
to see it come together under Will Hardy, like, I think that this is where his emergence is taking off, and I'm just like, man, like, he has become a legit guy they can go to, and for him to shoot over 35% from three, and, just become a new staple in that offense and in that city. Like, I think for him, once again, not the consensus choice, but he is someone to me that stood out right away and has led that. So just any final words when we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how often we're going to be able to do like such a good forensic deep dive of the whole NBA in both conferences, considering that we're both part of a show and a wider network that does Boston Celtics centric content. So I am super glad we got to talk about this. But what's nice about not really getting that opportunity or having the time for that is that I don't have the time for fucking any team right now other than the Boston Celtics. We are fucking absolutely throwing fucking heat right now. We're throwing 98 miles an hour fastballs on a nightly basis, and we don't look like we're going fucking anywhere. And prepare for me, and I hope you, and I hope Bob, and I hope Mike, and I hope Joe, and I hope Craig to be absolutely fucking insufferable for the remainder of this season. And I'll see all you fuckers in May.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I mean, listen, I echo every sentiment you just said. I'm going a more diplomatic route, just obviously we talked about things.
Fuck all your shitty teams.
Just us being brand new to the network. So like, subscribe, share the show, tell a friend, tell another friend, tell another friend, tell another friend. Regardless of what they say, word of mouth is still the best way to get information out there. And as always, we thank you for listening. So for DK Sizzle, I'm Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan, and until next time, we'll see you. Peace.
Step inside the marketing mirror to uncover marketing secrets, discover gems, tactics, lessons, and campaigns you can use, next gen or fundamentals. Grab the marketing magic to improve your marketing and win more business.
Electricast.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast. Electricast.